following program contains explicit material. If you are under 18 years old, please fuck off.
Welcome to Spinnin Yarns. I'm your host, Joe Amero, and I, for one, could have been dead many times over a long time ago. But for some reason, I'm still here. I've had a crazy life and met a ton of amazing people along the way who've inspired me. I'm going to invite some of these folks here to share some of their incredible and unbelievable stories with us. Who knows, we may even learn something along the way. There's way too much bullshit in this life. We need more real talk from real people. So sit back, chill out, and listen up, because we're spinning yarns. Welcome to Spinnin Yarns. I'm your friendly neighborhood Joe Amero. This is our maiden voyage here on the podcast. Not really sure what it's going to look like yet. I have a few loose ideas. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists have set the doomsday clock to 90 seconds to midnight. And I'm another white guy with a podcast. Not your typical white guy. Not your typical podcast. When I was a baby, I had a really bad fever. Maybe that's what happened to me. It's true. Grew up poor, single mom, welfare mom. Me and my brother. Years later, we had a sister. Dad's a piece of shit. Deadbeat dad. That old story. Nothing too exciting there. I'm a 45-year-old married, white cisgendered male, 2 kids, and a bungalow. Crazy. Anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobic. My hopes for the podcast. I hope we can build it as large as we can. I want to see it. I want to see it grow. I want to monetize it. I want to do this for a living. And not my job, which I hate very much. I'm a social worker, and that's tough work. Burnout is very popular this year. It's tough work. Human services. So we're just gonna. This is just me. This episode, I'm just gonna shoot the shit with you. I just want it to be as raw and honest as possible. I was gonna get naked and take a bunch of mushrooms, but I only took a little bit of mushrooms and left my clothes on. But it's not what it looks like. It's what it sounds like, what it feels like. And I feel naked. So that should help. You imagine me naked, and I'll imagine you naked, and we'll all be comfortable. That's awkward. And we didn't have to go there, but we did. Yeah, who knows? Who cares? I commute for work. I live in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and I work in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I commute for work for the last 8 years. And at the 5-year mark, I had driven approximately 800,000 kilometers, including the outreach I was doing in the city, which is halfway to the moon. So we know it takes you 10 years to drive to the moon, and nobody wants to do that either. Podcasts saved my life, for real. Like, I learned how to speak Spanish with a Scottish accent. ¿Cómo está? Sitio de Genianados. Murder podcasts. You've done, too many hours on the road when serial killers are just boring, way too many hours. Oh, it's the worst. So I know podcasts. I don't know how to make them good, obviously, but I want to give it a shot because this is going to be. I got a lot of wild, amazing people in my life. My friends are very cool. They do very cool things. They're the good people of the planet, and I'm going to talk to them. We shoot the shit, because that's where I feel most comfortable and most complete is when I'm just connecting with my friends. So that's the idea for the podcast. I'm just going to have people on, and we're just going to shoot the shit. spin them yarns. Except for today, it's just me. So it's a little weird. It's my first time. Be gentle. Strange. Yeah, we're just, I got some notes here. I'm just going to go through. Yeah, childhood sucked. We lived in Meadowvale, which was like a government project they built in Mississauga. And it was like supposed to be half market rent and half, welfare families. Subsidized housing. Wanted to see how that worked, and it didn't. The poor kids won. Obviously, they're tougher. We lived in identical buildings. Like we lived in the subsidized building, and directly across the street was the market rent building, and it was just like instant classism. It was pretty weird. Trick or treating was whack. Heavy on the trick. It was crazy, Meadowvale. But that's where we lived with my mom and my little brother, Harold, when we finally got our first place after my parents split up. Good memories. That's my good childhood memories. Lake Aquitaine. We had a pool at our building. We felt like rich kids. We didn't care what they were saying. Kmart. When I was little, I had a tooth grow out of the roof of my mouth. I could feel it, like with my tongue. I brought it to my mom. And she's like, holy shit, you got a tooth growing out of the roof of your mouth. So we had to go to Sick Kids Hospital. And that's the first time I experienced drugs and punk rock. Two things that played a constant part of my life ever since. Well, the doctor was like Cyndi Lauper. She had like a kilt and dyed hair and like bracelets and really cool. And she had me count back to 10, gave me the gas. And when I woke up, my mom had my tooth in this tube, and it was long like a shark's tooth. And she gave it to me, and like a pencil and erasers kit from the gift shop that had music notes on it. And I was like stoned out of my mind. And she brought me outside, and the whole parking lot in front of Sick Kids Hospital was just filled with paparazzi. And as soon as we walked outside, they started snapping pictures. And I was like, is this really that big of a deal? And she's like, no, the Siamese twins had their heads separated here today. So these people are for you, but you get a nice pencil and eraser consolation prize. That was weird. Then we left the city, and we had to move to my grandpa's farm, and that just changed everything. That was like I moved there in like the summer before grade 4, and it was like literally on the side of the highway. And when I went to school, I had steps cut in my hair because that's how we were rocking it in Meadowvale, and everybody made fun of me. I got beat up by a girl, Billy Joe Skelton. If you're out there, hope you're still kicking ass. I'd never seen a tetherball pole before, and I was like just looking at it and watching them play. And then she was just kind of like, like a bully, like, oh, you like that? And she's like, you want a better look? And just smashed my head off it like a bunch, and then hit me with the ball and tied me up with the rope. And it sucked. That's this little town called Shelburne, worst place. I'm pretty sure they're Satanists that run in that place. They're like real, like occultists, like Satanists, like like sacrificing virgins and eating babies and all that. Shelburne and Fiddleville, everyone who lives there knows. If you live there, it's true. And if you live there and you're denying it, that's because it's true. Shelburne, worst place in the world. And I've been to Belleville. But Shelburne is bad. It grew though. It's still growing. It's the fastest growing town in Canada to this day, I believe. When we were there, they had to build a new public school because there was too many kids. So they split us all up, and that's when I split up from my best friend Kyle Wolf. Kyle Wolf, if you see this or hear this, you got to get at me, man. I always wonder what happened to you. You're my best friend. You're a cool dude. If anybody knows Kyle Wolf, I think his mom's name was Debbie. She was missing one leg. He had a brother named Kurt. I think they're in the witness protection program. They would leave and come back a lot unexpectedly. But he was a cool guy. If you're out there, get at me, man. I'd love to see what happened to you. Yeah, so Kyle stayed at the old school and I went to the new school. And when we got there, the principal was like, well, we're going to have a logo contest and see who can draw the school logo. We're a brand new school. We need a brand new logo. And I love drawing, so I was like, oh, I got this. So I drew up this character, and I handed it in, and I won. And it was like a hawk. It was like a cartoon hawk. And there's this other artist, Raymond Valiant, and he's like, he cheated. He stole that from Garfield and Friends. And it was the same style, but it was my own original drawing. Like, don't be such a poor loser. Raymond Valiant, you're probably still a poor loser, because that was really, really bad showmanship there. I know we were in grade 5, but fuck you. I won the contest, and the principal has me in his office, and he's like, Joe, you won the contest. We love this character. We want him to be the logo, but we have to give him a name. And I want to announce it to the school right now on the public address system, so if you could just tell me his name, that'd be wonderful. So I'm like, well, I think like Mike. I just have been calling him Mike as I designed him, and he's just a Mike to me. That's just the name that popped in my head, and it just stays there. He'll always be Mike to me. And he was like, Mike Hawk. I like it. I love it. Mike Hawk. I love it. He's like, okay, let's tell everybody. And he gets on. Ladies and gentlemen, students and members of the faculty, I'd like to bring your attention to make this announcement here. The winner of the school logo contest is Joe Amero. The whole school can thank him for our new logo, Mike Hawk. Thank you, Joe Amero, for Mike Hawk. We're going to put a big mural of Mike Hawk on the gym wall. Mike Hawk will be on all the coupons for the almonds, the chocolate almonds we sell this year. And so everybody in the whole school, you can thank Joe Amero for Mike Hawk. I was just like, fuck you. I had a hard time there. They made me go see a social worker. It centered me out. You know, I don't know if there's like that. They started that when I was young. Product of divorce, some abuse in my past, all this shit. But we'd have to go talk to some lady who wasn't a teacher. She just came just to talk to this group, and she'd bring like bugles and like, you know, like Ritz crackers, and we'd get out of class, and it was weird. I don't know. Social workers are weird. I could attest to that. We all, well, not all of us, but many of us suffer from childhood trauma, and I've been trying to heal from that this last little bit the best I can, and I've been taking that little boy forward with me, and just holding him up to the sunshine, you know, and trying to heal my inner child and work on my trauma the best I can to be more fulfilled and content in my daily life, and just be a better person. But it's a lot of work, you know. Nobody wants to do it. It's hard work. That's why we do drugs. Yeah, and I got into drugs pretty early on. Like we were taking acid and smoking weed and burning hash and bottle tokes and drinking alcohol, drinking whiskey. And these country kids, they all drive Monte Carlos and drink a 60-pounder of whiskey on the weekend. I can still smell that puke from Royal Reserve Canadian Club whiskey. Nasty stuff. Better, you know, served in moderation over ice than in a cornfield. But yeah, it's a fucked up town. A lot of drugs. I remember one of my friends' dads was a trucker, and he would like give him like a whole bunch of like speed, like amphetamine, like Black Beauties and Yellow Jackets, and we were wired to that, like hard and fast. And we could sell it and make a fortune. And yeah, that changed things when you could see the money from that. And it was, you know, it was dangerous because older stoner dropout kids, and dealing with them, they try to rob you, and then you have to fight them. A lot of broken bottles and crazy tense moments in shitty apartments on the main street of little towns. Yeah, I did that speed until I peed jelly one day. I just went to have a pee, but it was just like, blah, 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 and I was like, oh no, that's that's not good for anybody. So I stopped, but I liked I probably did too much acid too. I like to trip out on acid and just draw. I would just drop acid and draw for hours, or try to drop it and then fall asleep, like take it when I was tired and then try to fall asleep before it kicked in, and then just like trip out in my dreams. That was awesome. And then we ended up moving back to Toronto, to the same neighborhood that we left in the first place, and it was all the same kids I was going to school with, but older, and they all thought I had died and just disappeared, like, and then I was just back. I did good at school though. I had good grades, but I don't know, I was bored. I think I dropped out with 1 credit shy of graduation because I'm never going to need this in my life, no matter what I do, and fuck the system. Was the thinking, you know? And I was right. It was true, and I was right. I don't want to rub it in. But, yeah, and then once we dropped out, it was my little brother, Harry, who got involved with the street people first. He started hanging out with squeegee kids and homeless people and a whole wide variety of undesirable bums and vagabonds. And then he introduced them to me. And most of them were cool. Some of them were completely insane, and you wouldn't want them anywhere near your records or anything, you know, or in your place, in your space, in your face. A lot of them are cool. Some of them are still friends to this day. Some of them will be on this podcast. Wonderful people, and yeah, so there's more drugs in the streets and more money. Doing the squeegee thing in Toronto and panhandling, like we made a fortune, a real fortune, you know, and spent it all on drugs and drinking and going to shitty $5 punk shows, really shitty punk shows. And most of the time we'd sneak in, so we saved $5. But yeah, Toronto sucks. You know that if you live there. I guess it's cool if you're like Drake or something, but for the rest of us, it's a shithole. And then they totally destroyed it and ruined the infrastructure with all the condos, so that even if you could afford now to live in a condo, your kids couldn't go to school in your own neighborhood because they destroyed the infrastructure. There's no school there or a library in your neighborhood because they don't care about community, so they sold us right out. And it would have to burn to the ground, literally, like Detroit, and be rebuilt to be saved. But there's way too much, you know, foreign investment and business there that they'll never let it burn, so it's just gone. They sold us out. That's when I moved to Hamilton, because at least I could buy a little house and, you know, have a tree, you know, hope and a dream. So it wasn't long, you know, kicking around punk scene, way too much shitty beer. It quickly becomes a good idea to try some harder drugs. And we got into heroin pretty heavy, pretty fast, and had a crash course in that. And then wanted to run away and get away from it. So traveled the States, hopped some trains, hitchhiking, a lot of hitchhiking down in the States with my friend Star. Hopefully, Star, you're going to come on the show and we'll tell them some tales. We'll spin some yarns. Star's awesome. Yeah, we went down to the States to try and get away from it, and just had a crazy adventure down there. Texas is wild. Austin, we tried to go to the Butthole Surfers house, but they were on tour, I think, or away, and some kid said we could shoot dope there if we washed the dishes. And I didn't want to do either one of those things, so we just kept moving. San Antonio, had a good experience down there. It's like a double-decker city, right? With the river walk down below, and then up top is the street corners and all the shit. But down below is like you could drink down there in the riverbed, and they have like, you know, bars and whatever, and a little boat going around. And we squatted in a corner office that overlooked downtown San Antonio. So the Alamo's there, though, and the cops are mean. That's a whole story of itself. That trip was wild. Yeah. until I just woke up in a Whataburger dumpster in Phoenix, Arizona. And, party's over. Slept in a teepee behind a women's college dormitory in Tempe. A lot of weird shit. Split up with Star and made my way back. Had to go through California. Went to California and then down into Tijuana. Black tar heroin, taco stand, cerveza, chiclets, and it's just all the kids from San Diego and college kids, and get back up and through LA. Got to Hollywood, saw a guy take a shit. I was like, oh, okay. Went through Compton and Watts and all that, all around, just like ghetto hopping all through. Got up. Northern California, beautiful, one of the most beautiful panoramas I've seen, with the ocean and then the redwood forest and the Rocky Mountains. You can kind of see it all in one shot. Very nice. Back up through Seattle, Portland, into Vancouver, back to Canada. Big deal. Yeah. Then back to Toronto. I got to the airport. I never flew a plane before, and I was nervous, so I ate 2 grams of mushrooms. And then I got really nervous because I ate 2 grams of mushrooms. And I sat in the middle between this homosexual Indian gentleman and a neo-Nazi skinhead. And I was in the middle. And the nice gentleman was asking if I wanted to be having some drinks with him when we were in the air. And then the Nazi skinhead, he had, a problem with everything. And then we stopped for a stopover in Calgary, and I got out and went in this smoke chamber. You could still smoke. It was like a smoke chamber, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I looked out in the lobby, and the gentleman was waving hello, and then on this side, the Nazi guy was just like, and I was like, what is happening? Tripping balls. And then we landed in Toronto, and I ran away and found my brother. He was at a bank machine, and I guess it was more heroin for years, right? Years and years, and then you're living in a car, and then you can't get heroin one day, so you try cocaine, and 9 months later you're sleeping in the park. Somebody stole your dog. I never had more jobs than when I was on drugs. Like I was actively injecting cocaine in the photo finish booth on the roof of the Kawartha Downs, and then running downstairs and videotaping the races for the judges. And one day I came into work, and the judges are like, Joe, could you come in here for a minute, please? Yeah, sure. And I come sit down. They're like, we just want to watch this video here from last week that you filmed here. Okay, here you got a good tight shot here of the starting line. And they're off, and they're going around the far bend, and you're good, and you're tight on everybody, and you got the leader and the follower all in frame, and that's good, and you're going to the far end, and you're going to the far end of the track here, and you're nice and tight, and then now we're across on the far end of the track, and looks like you saw something across the road here. You're going across the highway, and now you're in the field, and you found some kind of outbuilding, and now we're looking at the stars. And Joe, are you on drugs? Yeah, yes I am. And they said, okay. And I filmed the race, and it worked like crazy. They'd go home and, nail the windows shut. Madness. Methadone. Got on methadone. Tried to get off it because it was a horrible life. It wasn't fun anymore. I got to the point where it was like severe addiction. The drugs were doing me. I was not doing them. They were having all the fun, and I was just, being used and abused, and wanted to get clean. Tried to get on methadone. They didn't have it where I was in Peterborough, so we had to go to Oshawa. And I got out of the car and saw a guy come run out of the building, and then there's people waiting for him, and then he induced vomiting into a little cup, and then another guy handed him money, and he sold him the cup of vomit, and the dude just drank the cup of vomit. And that was like the first thing I seen. And I was like, what the hell was that? So he was selling him his methadone that he had just like drank in the pharmacy and then puked it up for him, and he still bought it. So I was like, well, it must be good stuff. So we tried that. I got on methadone. And that same day I left the pharmacy and I met Chow Yun Fat. And he was filming Bulletproof Monk. And I was like, what's up? And his bodyguards all kind of rushed me. And he was like, you know, I can take care of myself. Obviously. That was a strange day. And then eventually I was like, I got to get out of this whole scenario. So I my brother made a movie. He made this movie called deadend.com, and it was in the Toronto Film Festival, and the premiere was at the ROM, which is the Royal Ontario Museum. And they had a big red carpet premiere, and I hadn't seen my mom in years because I was hiding from her. And I seen her there, and she took one look at me and just started bawling and was like, you're coming home. And then we watched the movie in front of all these people, and in the movie my brother and I are shooting up, and she's just bawling. I was just like, whoa, man, this is bad. And she's like, you're coming home. And I was like, yeah, tomorrow. And then I ran off, but eventually I went there, and then kicked it all out. And it was like train spotting for like 12 days. I was in hell, just methadone, coke, and weed, and morphine, and all the heroin, and kicked it all out. Everyone thought I was going to die. My sister was just a kid. She thought I had brain cancer or something. I was just dying upstairs in the living room. Bad scene. Then I got into a rehab. I got into a free rehab because it's all you could get. So I went to like Sally Ann rehab, and it was horrible. They were so mean, right? Like you're gonna fucking die. It's like, holy shit, man. And then I was gonna graduate, and I was looking out the window, the top window, downtown Toronto. It's like down right on like Jarvis and Queen. And I looked at. There was this big commotion across the street in the baseball diamond, and there's this dude in like a garbage can, and then I see the police shoot him like in the head and kill him. And they're like, come on, it's time for graduation. And I went downstairs, and they gave us diplomas, and some dude got a nose job from his dad for graduating rehab, and then another dude got up and sang Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Another strange day. I think a few of those counselors actually killed themselves. But I just wanted to remember how to eat and go to bed and get back in a habit. It served its purpose. But while I was gone, my ex-girlfriend, she stole my dog and fucked all my friends. So I was upset about that because I loved that dog, right? That was rough. I found that out on my birthday. And after rehab, and then you're bored and you're sober, so I just ended up drinking all the time, and then got into punk bands, and now all of a sudden I'm playing in these shitty punk bands for these $5 shows in Toronto with these assholes. And one day a cop stops me, and I was flying a sign trying to make some money, and this cop runs my name, and he's like, sorry man, but I gotta take you in. This was years later, and it was the warrant for Peterborough police for stealing my own dog, right? And so I had the dog, but they had called the police and said that we kicked their door down and tied them up with extension cords and like beat them and all this, which none of it was true. But then I had to go to jail, and that was the first time I ever went to jail, and it was scary, right? Because you're like, well, what the hell is this? Everything you've heard about it, but and then I had to go to Lindsay Super Jail because it was closest to Peterborough, and these were like Americanized style jails, like Oz, like with the round, right, and the guards in the middle, and then this, the range just around them in a circle, all the different pods, and there was two of them. I think one was in Penetanguishene and one was in Lindsay, and they ran one provincial and one private to see how they wanted to do it. And at the private one, a guard killed an inmate by sticking a little red King James Bible down his throat and killing him. So they went with provincial. And then what? fuck, I don't know, you get out. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like a game show. I had to pay like $1,000 restitution to the woman who stole the dog. And it was like Price is Right. They're like, you're going to pay $1,000. And it was like, should I walk? And then there, my brother and my girlfriend are in the audience, like, yeah, walk, yeah, take it. So it's like $1,000. And, get the fuck out of there. And then it was so weird because the day I got out, I was in there for months and I never smoked a cigarette. I quit smoking. And then the day I got out, I was downstairs in the bullpen at the courthouse and I straight up smoked like a rollie out of a guy's asshole. Like he busted out and was like, yo, you want to smoke? And I was like, bunned that shit with him. And then it was like an hour later, I had a full pack of Dunhills and a brand new Zippo lighter. And I was like, yeah, But, things you do when you're a kid. I was on a collision course, kamikaze kind of mission for a long time. And then what really got me together was when we did the Hobo Banditos project with Dynamo and Harry the Hat. And I was Twitchy Tantrum. And we started Hi-Fi Umbilical Productions, and we started working on films and different projects. We made Hobo TV. We toured the country with hobos and got like, little cult status, had our own little following, and like it was a good time. I'm still proud of that work. That was good stuff. That was good stuff to be doing. And then but sobriety was so fucking boring, just boring. And then I met my wife and stuff, and I wasn't sober yet then, no. But then I got sober and got into social work, and it was like boring. It was good work, I thought you're on a mission, you're gonna help people, and blah blah blah. But it was really dry time for sure. But then like we had a kid and got married and bought a house like all in the same year. And that was wild. And then we had our first kid, our first daughter, Adeline. And that's my masterpiece forever. And that's not, I wasn't bored anymore. It was a lot of fun. And then I got into improv, doing improv comedy. I went to Second City Training Center and took all the courses and just trying to find a healthy community. And I did for a while. It was great times. Made my improv troupe, Pepperoni Pizza Cats, and we had a monthly show, and we went to New York City a couple times for Del Close Marathon, Detroit Improv Festival, Ottawa. A lot of fun. And then COVID happened, and that was just done for me. I got back into working in the shelters, and it was just a different world. And like everything closed down for a while. And then when it opened back up, I wasn't feeling it anymore the same way. So, who knows? You never know if you want to go back or whatever. It's always going to be there. Great hobby if you've got some expendable income. I would recommend it highly. Improv changed my life. I love it. The whole thing changed how I think. Changed me as a person, just how I am socially. It's really good. It's like way cooler than Toastmasters. That's my endorsement for improv. It's a fucking cult, right? And I don't know. It's a lot of inside baseball, but it's fun as long as you can stand it. It's a good time. And then my brother died, right? I did a whole show about it in theater called Blood, one person show, but this was the game changer because he fucking died, right? That really changed my life, and I lost 10 years of sobriety right there, and had to go out and cremate him. He died in Red Deer, so like even just the sound of the word Calgary, and it's like I hate it. And it's not just because he died there. Like, I went there, and it's a hateful place. And cowboys, and fuck you. If you're from Calgary, write me a letter if you know how to, No, there's good people there. I know there's good people. Street Cats, YYC. Good friend Trish is from Calgary. Hopefully she'll be on the podcast too. I love, people, but it just, he died there in Red Deer. And, he took an overdose of fentanyl and died, right? And then at the same time, my wife was pregnant with her second daughter. So everywhere I went, people were just congratulating me as I was in this haze of grief, and it's a confusing time, and so distant, and having to, try and, they're my anchor. Like, they kept me here. So it's a good thing it worked out the way it did, but it was a tough time. And then when I finally got it together, I wanted to do something with that grief and find some more closure for my family and my friends. And I wrote this one-person show called Blood, and we did it at Bad Dog Theater, where I got to be a featured player before all that, which was pretty cool. I did it there, and it was cool. And then it was going to get picked up by this producer, and we were going to do it in Hamilton, Toronto, New York. But he turned into just like a nightmare. And then COVID happened right at that time, so everything was dead. But we got to taste that lemonade. We did a good show, and it was good. And then I included it later in the telethon I did for the drugs fundraiser, so you can see it if you want to check it out. People dug it, and I dug it. It was very healing for me, and cathartic, and all that good shit. And then COVID, right? And right when COVID started, then I was going to do my follow-up to Blood. I was working on it called Drugs the Musical. And then it got put on the back burner because I was like, I can't tell my story until I thank all these people on the front line doing the harm reduction work. So I turned it into Drugs the Musical, the telethon. And I was going to do this fundraiser. So we did that and raised a bunch of money. And right when we started that, my best friend James Bridges goes and dies, right? He overdoses on drugs. So drugs were prevalent this whole for my whole life. Like, even now I'm in harm reduction, and I work with people who are doing drugs. But then so we did the telethon, because it's good work, right? I think I'm about finished with it. I've been pushing that rock up the hill, and I'd like to have someone take it from me, and so I can step aside gracefully, so I don't have to just let it go and take like 10 people out behind me. But I'm about had it with it. It's a lot. It's not sustainable, but here we are, right? Then I made a documentary about the making of the telethon that was for the musical. So the musical took a backseat for another year, and then I put the documentary out. And that's about my life and making the the telethon. So the joke became like, Drugs the Musical never really happened. I'd like to put it out when I turn 50, so I can say it was 50 years in the making. But who knows? Probably won't do that either. But we need, that's very important stuff. Obviously, harm reduction saves lives. We need safe supply, supervised consumption sites, and decriminalization. And it won't work without it. So just hurry up and do it. Best thing happening in the country, if you want to support, is a Drug User Liberation Front in Vancouver. And they crowdsource and take the money, turn it into cryptocurrency, and buy clean drugs on the black market, on the dark web, heroin, coke, meth. They test it 6 ways from Sunday, and then they distribute it to drug user groups, and nobody overdoses. Everybody does clean drugs and has a good time. Best model. They need to do it at a federal level. It's the best thing that happened to Canada since Terry Fox, the Drug User Liberation Front. Check them out. They're the shit. I opened a overdose prevention site, worked for a place. It was crazy. They tried to sabotage me, try to accuse me of stealing money. They forged my name, a bunch of crazy shit. So I'm still trying to plan my exit out of there now, because they're psychotic. yeah, so I've been focusing more on hi-fi and doing some more creative stuff. I got a short film we're working on. I've got a web series we're putting together, and then this podcast. So that should be enough to keep me out of trouble. We'll see, right? Yeah, spinning yarns. I think this went okay. You know, I think it would be better when I have a guest, but this was good just to break the ice, like I said, get my feet wet and check out my setup here and how this is gonna all work. Trial run. Yeah. And if you have like any questions, or if you wanna shoot the shit, like reach out. yarnspinnin@gmail.com. We're on all the socials. Just look us up. I really want to make some good connection and share these stories. Inspire people with them, because it's healing, right? It's counsel. It's the only way you're going to heal from this trauma. And even just listening to other people's stories, you're going to relate to them, and you're gonna heal, by proxy, vicariously through their triumphs. You know what I mean? And the rest is unknown. Like we don't know what happens. The whole place could blow up. We don't know. So we're gonna keep going while we're here, right? Well, at the beginning of COVID, I had a chest X-ray and they found a spot on my lung, and then I went back a year later and the spot hasn't changed. So it's kind of concerning. I quit smoking. Cholesterol's through the roof. I've been eating fish oil. Joined the gym. Trying to work on that. Down 10 pounds since the top of this year. So doing the best I can. Eating good. Counting calories for the first time. It's pretty helpful. Got this thing going on with my eyes. Got these glasses in the middle of all this. Like while I was putting together this OPS. I started to go blind. I was driving to work and went blind. And it turns out that I had like astigmatisms in both eyes working this way. Going, this way over time. And then this other thing in my eyes working the other way, so that it was overcompensating, so I wasn't seeing double. And then the light would hit it and I'd have a aura only migraine and go blind. So it's called ocular migraines. And I'm off work for a week right now to adjust to a new medication and do some follow-up appointments and take a break from screen time. And the commute will kill you. You need a good podcast if you're going to drive. I don't know if this is it. If I sold you, I'm not trying to, I'll fight Jared Leto for money if you want to. Like I'll fight you for your money, Jared Leto. This is I'm calling you out, man. You look like you smell like cat piss, and I want to fight you for your money. And if you win, you're not going to win, so don't worry about it. Just fight me. Reach out if you're having any trouble. We'll connect you to who you need to speak to. You're not alone. Give us a good review, 5 stars. You like the underdog? That's us. We're going to keep them coming. We're going to spin these yarns. I got crazy shit. I got stories for days. I got friends all over the world, and we're going to chat. We're going to chat it up, and leave us a good review. 5 stars. And we're going to spin yarns, and we're going to fight Jared Leto. We called him on. You heard it here. Hashtag cat piss. Peace. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time on Spinning Yarns. Talk at you next time. We'll talk at you next time. Nice talking at you. That's all for now from Spinning Yarns. I don't have an ending. Just fucking be cool. Just be cool. It's your story. Hey, it's your story. We're just living in it. No. Hey, it's your story. Write it how you want. Hey, it's your story. Read it yourself. Spinnin' Yarns is brought to you by Hi-Fi Umbilical Productions. We're 100% DIY with zero tolerance for intolerance. Spinnin' Yarns is recorded on stolen land in front of a live studio audience. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Gmail, and Linktree at Yarn Spinnin'. Please like, follow, and share to show your support. We're building this together. Spinnin' Yarns is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you kids go for podcasts these days. Check out our Patreon if you'd like to help out the show, and you can always find us on the web at our landing site, joeamero.com. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, reach out. Let's shoot the shit. We're just spinning yarns, connecting with respect and respecting the connections. Peace be with you, and let the peace be known.